Is there anyone here who's heard of the News Literacy Project other than Pam and Tracy? Um, if so, I'd love to know what you know about us and what resources, if any, you've tried. Oh, CJ's excited to learn more. Awesome. We're excited to show more. So while we wait on those responses, I'll go ahead and tell you a bit about myself. My name is Brittany Smith. I work at NLP, and my role is to build and support our district partnerships in the Eastern region. So I get to work with some of your district administrators to help think about how about meaningful implementation of our resources. And I'm really excited to share some free resources with you today. I'm a former life science educator. I taught biology, I taught anatomy and physiology. I was also the department chair. So any ways that we can thought partner about how to use these resources in your classroom, I'd love to do that. Feel free to reach out to me via email. My email is on the screen. And we're going to start off with a quiz. Now, I'm a former educator, as I said, and old habits die hard. You know, teachers love to give quizzes. So I'm going to give you a quiz. There's one multiple choice question. I think it's, again, the easiest quiz of all time. So let's dive in. Can you finish this iconic film quote? Blank, I am your father. Is the answer A, Luke, B, no, C, yes, or D, baby? Please type your answers in the chat. I'm going to give you, 10 seconds. What do you think it is? What's the answer? Okay, CJ says A, Ann says A. Tracy and I both discovered last session that we're not familiar with Star Wars. Got a couple A's. Anyone else want to weigh in before I display the answer? Me either, CJ. Pam says C. All right. I'm going to show you the answer. You're all going to be shocked because you're all wrong. The quote actually is, no, I am your father. And if you don't believe us, you don't even have to look it up today. Of course, we recommend that you look it up. But if you don't believe us, I'm going to show you a short video clip to prove it. So here we go.
There is no escape. Don't make me destroy you. Luke, you do not yet realize your importance. You have only begun to discover your power. Join me, and I will complete your training. With our combined strength, we can end this destructive conflict and bring order to the galaxy. I'll never join you! If you only knew the power of the dark side. Obi-Wan never told you what happened to your father. He told me enough. He told me you killed him. No. I am your father.
So there you have it. Darth Vader actually says, no, I am your father. So this came from one of our resources that's in the resource library. It is a quiz that you can use with your students just to kind of help underscore the importance of researching things, even when we think we know. So let me tell you, because it looks like none of you have heard of us before, which is great. I love sharing NLP with new people. A bit about who we are. So our mission is to support teachers in teaching news literacy. We feel strongly that students in K to 12 should get news literacy education. And that really helps fuel our vision, which is that all students in the US will be skilled in news literacy before they graduate high school. Now, that's a tall order. And why do we want that? I'm sure as educators, you know that giving our students the confidence and knowledge to do things, in this case, to evaluate information, um, makes them feel like they're ready to go out into the world. And so we want to give our kiddos the ability to participate in our democracy as well-informed critical thinkers. So that's what we are here to support you in doing. Today we've got a short session, but we're going to first, I'm going to clearly define news literacy. I think that's so important that we know exactly what we are talking about. And then my colleague Tracy is going to share some key news literacy topics with you about misinformation, algorithms, and AI. And you'll discover some of our high quality resources like our Checkology lessons and our infographics. And of course, more goodies. So let's get started with talking about what news literacy is. So, news literacy is the ability to determine the credibility of news and other information. Now, when we think of news, as someone who's, I guess, middle aged now, if we think about the average life expectancy, to me, news just comes from the newspaper and the TV screen, the actual news broadcast. But our students are getting their news from other sources as well. So you'll notice that as Tracy talks, we talk about AI and we talk about algorithms and how our social media that delivers us some news should also be evaluated. And this approach is going to teach our students how to think about this news and other information, but not what to think. So you're not going to find one of those bell curve charts that talk about the trustworthiness or credibility of different news sources. We empower our students to do that work on their own. And we're not just building resources for you. We are also doing research. We released our very first study. It's called News Literacy in America. And I just pulled out one quote that struck me as being very meaningful. And it says that teens want media literacy instruction. And in fact, of our respondents, an overwhelming majority, 94%, said that schools should be required to teach media literacy. And the good news is that we've got tools to teach you just how to do that. So I'm going to introduce my amazing colleague, Tracy, and she will talk to you about key topics and some of the tools that we have for you. So, Tracy, I'm going to let you take over.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Brittany. I appreciate you. I want to make sure everyone's seeing my screen here. Are we all seeing my presenter's slide? Oh, wonderful, wonderful.
Yes.
Let me go back there just one sec. A little bit about me. I'm so excited to talk to this group today. I am a product of CPS. I went to CPS elementary schools and high school. I am a Whitney Young Dolphin, so go Dolphins. I also taught high school journalism for CPS. I taught for George Westinghouse College Prep, if that rings a bell for anyone. And I taught middle school for Joshua Kershaw Elementary in the Inglewood area. Um, so it's near and dear to my heart. I'm still living in close proximity to the Chicago land area as well. As Brittany mentioned, I'm the Senior Manager of Professional Learning. My background in broadcast includes reporting for local television news and producing morning news. So it's really cool to put the skills of media and education together here at the News Literacy Project and talk to you guys today about topics such as misinformation. Let's talk a little bit about defining misinformation to begin with. Misinformation is that umbrella term um, that is any information that is misleading, false, inaccurate. That is misinformation. Underneath that umbrella, we have another term, disinformation. And disinformation is any information that is deliberately created and deliberately shared with the intention of misleading. So again, that falls under misinformation. And misinformation, it thrives on social media where anyone can share almost anything. And it's just attention spans are short as well. So some key things to keep in mind about misinformation, and just want to draw attention to this graphic. It's one of our free downloadable resources that can be found in the educator resource page on our website. And so this is one that I would definitely print out and post up in the classroom and refer to often with the students. Today, we're going to pull out some information from that infographic and talk specifically about types of misinformation. Let's start with this question. Do you trust your spidey senses? And by that, we're talking about those innate feelings, premonitions, that sixth sense, for example, that we often relate to Spider-Man as a characteristic, that something bad is about to happen. We should be activating that sense. And the truth is, everyone has that innate sensor. And the more we learn about types of information, tactics, patterns and trends in viral information, misinformation, then we can further develop and sharpen these spidey senses. So there are five types of misinformation. Let's break those down a little bit. False context, that's any type of information, may it be an image, video, or quote that's taken out of its original context and presented in a new context that changes up its meaning. There's also fabricated content, and that misinformation is entirely made up information. So think about AI generated information and images, and sometimes it's presented as authentic or even news. There's stolen satire. So think about information that is humorous or is used as oops, sorry about that. Information that is used and presented as a sense of irony. When that information is taken out of its context and presented in an authentic way, then that also becomes misinformation. We also have imposter content. So, for example, false information about a public figure or a well-known brand or logo um, that is used to maybe fool people. That's imposter content. And finally, manipulated content, any misinformation that is maybe it's a photo or video or graphic that is doctored up or changed in some kind of way. That is a form of manipulated content. So we're going to take a moment here to look at a couple of examples of what a couple of these types of misinformation look like when they show up in the wild. And so what we have here is a claim. This social media post claims that firefighters ran out of water during devastating wildfires back in January because city officials refused to fill the reservoirs. Well, the actuality here, the reality, no, officials did not refuse to fill the reservoirs. This is false information. um, Doing a little bit more research, digging a little bit deeper, coming out of this social media post and actually going to a search engine and searching more credible information, we are able to find out that the reservoirs were full before the fires, And a sharp increase in demand for water at the lower elevations made it hard to refill those tanks at the hillier locations where the fires were also spreading. Something else to keep in mind about a viral post such as this, pay attention to that word breaking at the top. During breaking news events, it's especially important to be cautious about social media coverage. Many attempts are made from accounts to exploit tragedy and share inaccurate and conspiratorial claims. So it's very important to keep your eyes open during breaking news events. Also, be very cautious of words that stand out in all caps. We see here out of water, we see refused and zero. These types of words elicit emotion, and any type of emotion can be used to manipulate. This is an example of false context. So again, while these images are real images of the wildfires, they are taken out of their original context and placed in a new context with false information. So this is false context here. It's very important to follow reliable sources when you're on social media. Build up your algorithm so that you are following more and being presented with more reliable sources. And as I said before, don't trust everything on social media. Don't rely just on social media. You want to make sure that you're seeking out real news articles as well and checking for evidence. Here's another example. Look at this claim. A social media post claims to show a photograph of a large fire at a Temu warehouse in China. Can we spot any red flags here? And feel free to use the chat if you see anything that stands out to you. I'd love for you to let us know in the chat. Anything stand out? Or we're a pretty small group, so feel free to come off mute and just let us know if you see something. One thing to take a look at is this statement right here. The total loss of inventory has been estimated to be as high as $56.19. Wow. Okay, so let's look at this. We're talking about Temu here. And so a total loss of inventory for a fire this large only being $56.19 is kind of unreal, right? So they're poking fun here at the Temu brand, and this is not authentic information right here, right? The actuality, let's look at the reality. This is not an authentic image. This is actually an AI generated image. And AI generated images can be hard to spot at times. This one contains a couple of artifacts that should be activating our spidey senses here. Does anyone notice what those are? Yes, I see your comment, CJ. You missed it really quick, the $56. I know can be hard to spot. I also want you to pay attention to these AI generated, the AI watermarks here. And what we're looking at is X's AI chatbot watermark. And so this is an indicator that it was created by Grok, which is that AI chatbot for X. So your students should be very familiar with these as well. This is an example of fabricated content. That's again misinformation that is entirely made up, and there's an evidence-free claim here. Spotting AI generated images, it's not an easy task, right? And not even for the experts. It can be tough for the experts as well. As a matter of fact, some of my NLP colleagues were presented with images of birds, some that were generated by AI and others that were authentic. And those authentic pictures were beautifully taken in nature by one of our editors, Lourdes Bernard, who happens to also be an amazing photographer. Let's take a look at what happened when our colleagues here at NLP tried to decipher which were AI and which were not.
Can you spot a real bird from an AI generated one?
Oh, is this what birds look like? Oh my goodness.
We're trying.
My guess is probably not. Now, my talented colleague and editor Lourdes takes beautiful photographs of birds. Just look at these. But because I work at the News Literacy Project where we talk about AI a lot, I thought to myself, what if I made a completely unnecessary AI bird quiz to test the people I work with? And I got really into it. I researched different types of birds in the Pacific Northwest where Lourdes lives, I took notes on her photography style, and I fine-tuned my image generator prompts to a maniacal level. And I asked them, is this AI or a photo Lourdes took?
I'm going to say AI generated.
AI.
AI generated.
That is incorrect.
Oh no, okay.
That's a real photograph.
I say AI generated.
What? Oh man.
I think real.
I'll go with real as well. No, no. I'm looking at your face.
Real.
It's real.
AI. I'm gonna say Lourdes again.
Wow, how is this happening?
Real.
The reflection looks okay.
Real.
Does it though?
Real.
Does the dirt look okay?
I think this is a Lourdes photo.
But I'm gonna say AI generated.
AI.
I'm gonna go with AI. Real.
Yes.
Yeah. Interesting.
The takeaways, just knowing there were AI images in the mix made people second guess everything.
There's poop on the rock. What AI puts poop on the rock?
It's like so red.
Is this a real bird?
When people chose AI, oftentimes it was because they thought the photograph was simply too good to be true.
Wow. If she got this shot, that's pretty incredible.
This is a real photo? This is so cool.
I chatted some more with Lourdes about birds. Here's what she had to say about nature photography and AI.
I think it's really tough. When I looked at the photos you created with AI, there was definitely ones I would have been fooled by if someone had posted those. On the one hand, you should be looking around and seeing, is this real or not? But don't discount just every photo that looks like it's just too fantastic to be real. Because sometimes it really is real. People have these great moments in nature that they're able to capture.
But not images of adorable baby birds, because this is definitely AI.
Baby birds are really pretty ugly. They're not that cute.
But maybe the biggest takeaway from all of this,
I can't trust that something I'm seeing is or isn't AI just by like picking out details.
If you don't have additional context, you're just like making your best guess. You start doubting real photographs.
that's why looking for more context is better than hunting for visual clues. Whether it looks real or looks too good to be real, the smartest move is to check where the image came from and see if you can verify it through another reliable source. And one more question.
Okay, so love that video. It's hard, right? It's hard to do. How many times have you been fooled? Have you been fooled by AI online? But to summarize Alexa's points, you want to look for more context. That's much better than hunting for more visual clues inside of the image. You want to check where the image came from and also verify if you can verify it from another reliable source. And Alexa did such a great job on that. She's our video producer for NLP. I hope you're following her on TikTok. This is another infographic that you can download from our educator resource page. It's free for you to do that and post up in your classroom, please. This is a good takeaway here. Six takeaways about AI, and those points we just summarized, you'll find them here. Another great point that I like to point out is that AI tools are not objective. They are definitely subjective to bias. So the humans, the people who are training those bots, they bring in their own biases at times. And so the output, the content, the tools that we receive may also include those biases as well. Information is spreading so rapidly. Misinformation is spreading um, easier than ever before, and it's easy to fake. So we want to make sure that we're staying very current on these tools and tips. At the same time, just want to encourage everyone not to let the AI technology undermine your willingness and trust to um, believe anything you see and hear. Don't let it undermine your trust, but just be more careful about what you accept as authentic. We're going to shift now to take a look at another really important verification skill, which is identifying credible sources. So let's take a look at these two. Can you compare these two sources on Hurricane Helene? What makes them different? What are we seeing here? Anyone? Go ahead, post a comment in the chat if you have some ideas. Well, I'd like to take a look at the bio information for this first example here. Looking inside that bio, we see that this is the LE Times. We don't see any indicators that it is an actual news source. We find out that she's much into sports, but nothing really to lean into about news. At our other source, we learned that this is the Associated Press. I hope that your students are familiar with the AP. We know that this is a news and media website, and this is a more credible source to lean into here. Let's take a look more closely at these. So, user-generated content is a type of content that we see here where Ellie Times is presented. And while the information that she is presenting could, in fact, have some accuracy to it, there are just so many questions to answer without this being a reliable, standards-based news source. There are really no ramifications for any false or out of context information that we would see here. And then we have our standards-based news source being the AP. So these two sources pretty much they're in two entirely different universes, and we have to approach them with a different set of questions. So for example, with user-generated content, we should be asking what type of account was it shared by? Do the comments provide any clues? Look at the comments or evidence about the claim. Does it cite reputable sources? And can you tell where the claim originated? So key questions to keep in mind and share with students as they're looking quite often, right, at this type of user-generated content. And for standards-based news, we should ask a set of questions as well. Is this straight news or opinion journalism? Because that matters. Are the people, sorry here, are the people and documents and sources cited in the news report considered reliable? And are there other credible standards-based news organizations reporting the same things? So key questions to keep in mind for standards-based news coverage as well. Quick look at an activity that comes from Checkology, which is our e-learning based website. It's just one of the many lessons that you'll find there. Is it legit? It's just one of the lessons. This is actually a practice and extend um, activity, and we partnered with Smart News to create this activity. Here, there are several steps and tips in this activity to build skills all about being able to basically fact check and be able to identify credible information. It talks mainly about news, but these tips that you find here can also be applied to other information that you may come across online, such as AI generated content as well. This is Hannah Covington, who partnered and created with Smart News to create this lesson. Hannah is also one of my NLP colleagues, and she outlines here some of the key objectives that your students will be able to accomplish through this activity. I can describe 5 steps to evaluate news sources. I can assess news sources for signs of credibility. And some of the essential questions that will be brought out include, how can we know what news and sources to trust? And what signs of credibility to look for in a news source? And why do certain practices and standards make some news sources more trustworthy than others? This is the Is It Legit graphic. Again, I recommend that you download it, and it outlines the 5 steps for vetting a news source. Oh, I feel that we had a question. We had a question from CJ. AP, CNN, MSNBC has been publicly ridiculed by the new executive office. Should we, the public, continue to trust that they are actually reliable? Right. So again, I think that we have to do what we're asking our students to do, which is use the skills and that we're identifying what is legit and what is credible, looking at um, what the news organizations are doing in terms of being transparent to align themselves as a credible source. And it's really a decision that we have to personally make on our own as informed critical thinkers. So that's my take on it. Uh, I know it's a hard question to answer at this time. If we have time at the end, maybe we can come back to discussing more of that. The 5 steps for the Is It Legit process is to, when looking at information to determine its credibility, is 1, do a quick search. Look for standards. Again, is that particular source following any specific ethic code or standard, like SPJ, for example? Check for transparency. Like, are they labeling themselves as a news organization? Are there actual reporters reporting on the information? Do we see bylines, things of that nature? Examine how errors are being handled. If a news source is very open and upfront about that, we then should feel good about that because we know that they're taking inaccuracies seriously and being very transparent and open. And yes, also always assess news coverage and look at a lot of coverage, right? So you want to um, definitely, again, not just stay right there with that source, which leads me to the one step that I want to look at a bit more closely today, which is do a quick search. This could very well be the most important step to take. Um, Leaving that piece of information that you're questioning and seeing what else is reported. Opening up new tabs in your browser to see what else is there. This technique that I'm talking about is called lateral reading, and it's a verification strategy that again involves leaving the website and opening up tabs to look for more credible information. So maybe there's a phrase or something that's standing out to you, then take that phrase, go to a new tab, pop it in, and continue reading. And hopefully, this will lead you to more credible sources. The traditional way of staying right on that source that you're investigating and reading vertically or up or down is a traditional way of doing things. And the truth is that information could easily be faked there and led to trick and mislead you. So come out and continue to open those tabs and search laterally through lateral reading. A few more things to point out for lateral reading versus vertical reading. Again, vertical is an older method used to teach students, and much of the criteria for that is outdated. Professional fact checkers typically practice leaving the site and seeking information from other sources or reading laterally. We're going to take a quick look at an example from Hannah, who shows us in more detail what it looks like to practice lateral reading.
Okay, step one should be really easy to remember. Do a quick search. I know, it might sound like a no-brainer, right? But doing just one simple search can make all the difference and can often save you from even needing to do the other steps. Now, when I say search, I'm not talking about searching on social media. Be sure to go to a search engine like Google, Bing, DuckDuckGo, and see what other legitimate sources have to say about the news source you're evaluating. This is called lateral reading, a term first introduced by researchers at Stanford University. Journalists and fact checkers use this skill all the time to assess information online. It's a game changer. Let me show you what I mean. Recently, I came across this TikTok video about a dad reportedly helping his daughter practice ballet. Seems pretty fun and harmless, right? But I noticed this label at the bottom that said Russian state-controlled media. What? It was posted by an account called In the Now, which seems to post a lot of these feel-good type stories. But when I go to their profile, all I see is a bio that says, kindness is dope. I mean, agreed, it totally is, but that doesn't tell me anything about this account. So to find out about this source, the quickest and easiest thing I can do is open a new tab or hop over to Google to do a search. When I type In the Now in my search bar, I get a lot of results, but I really want the most credible sources. So I'm going to tweak my search terms and click the News tab to narrow my results. Other news sources clearly call its credibility into question. They say it's controlled by the Russian government and is connected to another source called RT. And hey, a quick search of RT gives us another clear answer. These sources are state-controlled and funded by the Russian government. That means they're not independent or free of government influence, and they can't be trusted as a credible source. So hey, while these videos may seem harmless, we need to be skeptical and critical of everything they publish. That's because state-controlled media doesn't exist to inform you. It exists to influence you in some way. You know, to make the sponsoring government look good, or to make other governments, certain groups, or certain ideas look bad.
So I hope that you enjoyed learning more about lateral reading. And to take it a step further, I invite everyone to use this assessment. Use the QR code or follow the link. The link is also posted in the resource page that you guys will have access to. It's a really quick, fun way to test your ability to identify credible sources. Is it legit? Assessment, and share it with your students as well and see how well they do, maybe before they learn more from you about credible sources and after, right? See if they improve. So love that. And I also really love how Hannah demonstrated searching using the toolbar. She made sure she clicked on that news button in the toolbar to narrow her search even the more, and use quotation marks around what she's searching. So some other quick tips for searching. And if you're on Checkology, look for the Google like a pro challenge, because you'll learn more about those search tips as well. So thank you all. I hope this information you'll find useful, and I'm going to toss it back over to Brittany to wrap us up.
Hello. Thank you so much for that really, really engaging presentation. I truly do appreciate everything that I've learned from your entire team, Tracy, but I learned so much about lateral reading, things I did not know. So, with that said, I want to show you a few resources, and Tracy's done a great job of giving you some to whet your appetite. But I'm going to put in the chat a link, and if you don't mind filling out the questionnaire at that link, it'll just collect your email address so that we can keep in touch. And then you will see a confirmation message. And if you click on in the last sentence, there's the word here. It's a little difficult to tell that that is a link, but it is. You'll find the resource document. So, what can we do as educators to teach our students to recognize misinformation, to look out for those hallmarks of AI, and stay on guard, and also understand algorithms? This is the resource document that you will find after you fill out that little questionnaire. You can also get there using this QR code. But we have many resources just for you. And I saw CJ ask the question about how much they cost. They are totally free. We have a resource library that's got those infographics that Tracy shared, along with quizzes like you've seen today. Other videos like those news goggles videos, the news goggles video that Tracy shared, lesson plans, and I'll show you this momentarily, but you'll be able to search by the type as well as the grade band. And then we have the SIFT, which is your guide to the week in news literacy. And so I'll show you that as well, including some of our classroom ready resources that are contained within the SIFT. And then finally, our most comprehensive resource is called Checkology, and it is a browser based virtual classroom. Now, to get to the resource library, you're just going to go over to newslit.org, which you can find on that resource document. And then I actually included a direct link to the resource library, but you just hover over for educators and click on the resource library, and that is where you'll find our treasure trove of goodies. The resource library, as I said, can be sorted by grade band as well as lesson type. If you're looking for the SIFT, just hover over that for educators option and then click on the option for the SIFT, and you'll get our newsletter every Monday delivered to your inbox. We've also got archives you can discover there too. Our most recent our most recent issue contained information about the Black press, which is always so interesting to hear about. I love that we included that resource, especially during Black History Month. And then some information about law tubers, which is kind of a newer phenomenon, right? Like it's not something that maybe existed years and years ago, but it's something that our students are seeing a lot, especially on YouTube. In addition, we've got daily do now slides that are updated every Friday for you. You can count on these slides every single week to be ready to use with your students. There are multiple choice questions, a word wall to help build student academic vocabulary around news literacy. So definitely check that out. In addition, we have Rumor Guard slides. If you are familiar with our Rumor Guard platform, which sources viral rumors from across the web and then then debunks them based on 5 factors that spell out CARES: claim, authenticity, reasoning, evidence, and source. I'm sorry, context. I mess up that first one because I see claim on my screen, but it's context, authenticity, reasoning, evidence, and source. So this accompaniment just breaks down those rumor guard posts into a little bit more of a digestible format for our younger learners or those who may not be ready for the rumor guard platform itself. And so it's going to go through each of the rumor guard examples that it gives with you, and give you tips about how our professional fact checker debunked those claims. This is the rumor guard platform. There is a link to it on the resource document. You can also get these rumor guard alerts via text. I do, and I love it because it's always a little news literacy nugget at the perfect time of day for me. We do have this rumor guard infographic as well that you can print out and hang in your classroom. Tracy is telling me that you cannot see my screen, and I am so sorry, everyone, that I did not share my screen. I totally goofed. Hopefully you are able to see my screen now. Oh my goodness. So sorry about that, everyone. I'll make sure you get a copy of these slides. In addition, we have Checkology, as I mentioned. It's our most comprehensive resource. And I just want to show you a short demo of Checkology. So Checkology, yes, yes, I will make sure you get those slides. I am so sorry about that again. Checkology contains lesson and extension opportunities. Our lessons are broken down. They're multimodal experiences. So students experience videos led by subject matter experts, followed by formative assessment questions. We've got a word wall as well, so students can learn that academic vocabulary and be able to describe exactly what they're seeing in the information landscape. Here's our first formative assessment where students have to kind of take inventory of their own experiences with algorithms, which I think is an important reflection opportunity. And then I'm going to leave you with just a little piece of one of the videos that features Mia Soto, our subject matter expert, as she talks about how algorithms work. So take a look at this.
Algorithms can be difficult to wrap our heads around because sometimes their inner workings are a bit of a mystery. We know algorithms follow a set of rules, but when it comes to inputs and outputs, algorithms are sort of like a black box. For example, as I type my search terms into a search engine, the algorithms return results according to the rules it has been taught. But it's not always clear exactly why it makes the choices it does. Similarly, when you open up your favorite social media app, the algorithms analyze your habits and interests to curate what kinds of posts you see in your feed. Algorithms are often referred to as models, simplified representations of a larger process. You might think that algorithms are a recent phenomenon, but they've been around for a long time.
So I'll stop there, but as you see, we do have closed captioning and auto translate available for our videos. If you use the YouTube video delivery option, I'm more than happy to talk through more of how to get started on Checkology, how to access all of the incredible features and resources within Checkology. But just to show you one example, in our last minute together, we have lesson guides for all of our full-length lessons that are going to talk about learning objectives and essential questions, but also show you the alignment to our in-house news literacy standards that were actually developed by Pam, who's here with us this afternoon. So this is a wonderful resource if you plan to use Checkology. And I hate that we're out of time. These sessions are never long enough. But if you have questions, please feel free to reach out to me via email. You can also find Tracy's email on our resource document. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining us. And I'll hang around for another 5 minutes or so for questions, if there are any.